If you were to write a book about yourself and then read it, would it inspire you or would it make you feel worse about yourself? Hi, this is Herbert, VUCA Leadership and Sustainable Performance Coach. And today I want to round out this conversation about your identity by helping you to rewrite your own story. Over the last few weeks, we've been talking about your identity. Your identity is not what you do, your identity is who you are. It's who you believe you are and who you believe you're not. And all the experiences that you've had, all the things that you've done have either built up or eroded that identity. Your identity is your foundation for everything that you do. Everything that you believe about yourself, everything that you take on as being true will either propel you forward or hold you back. And if your identity is a negative one, then that will stop you from entering your full potential. Last week, we talked about the inner dialogue, the self-talk that you have, that constant opportunity for you to remind yourself of everything that's gone wrong, of every time that you've got it wrong, every time you've failed, that rumination that goes on around what people have said to you and about you that you've made mean a certain thing about yourself. It's that dialogue that reminds you when you are stepping into the danger zone of those three universal fears of not belonging, not being enough, and not being loved. And we talked about the ability to shift that dialogue, to change it, to get that mini-me working with you rather than against you. Well, today, as my dog barks in the background, what we're going to do is we're going to step that up. We're going to put all those things together and we're going to rewrite our stories about ourselves. You see, when you have a story about yourself that is made up of all this negative and all the things that have gone wrong and the times that you've got it wrong and all those things we've just talked about, then that's not really reading that's going to inspire you. So what you want to do is you want to draw a line in the sand today, knowing now what you know about being able to shift your identity and build it up to where it needs to be, and write the next chapter, the next version, the next edition of your story. So to do that, there are certain things that you need to be able to do. And we've started that. We've started to shift that dialogue. We've recognized when we're operating out of those three universal fears, when we're operating out of an approval addiction, an imposter syndrome, the performance trap, all those things. So we understand that now. And we understand that we can shift that dialogue. So the key thing to do right now is to look at all those things and look at what you actually believe about you, and to put those things under the microscope and test them, and to be able to discredit them and change them to beliefs about yourself which are true and empowering. So to do that, you need to be able to sit down and write out a list of all the beliefs that you have about yourself. And what I want you to do is I want you to start with the words I am. Because I am is about your identity. I do is about your performance. But what we're talking about here is the foundation of who you are. So sit down, write out a list, starting with I am, and then write down all the things that you believe about yourself. When I was a small child, as I said, I found out some things that then I decided to have a pity party about for the next 25, 30 years. And I made those things mean certain things about me, and they became my beliefs. And my beliefs are then what triggered all my thought patterns, which triggered all the behaviors. So starting with a foundation of a negative belief, then obviously the behavior didn't serve me as well. So what I've been able to do is challenge those beliefs, look at where they came from and shift them. And now, and I'm not perfect about this, as I've said many times, I'm never going to be perfect and neither are you. Now, most times, the story that I have about myself has the elements that are going to help me to move forward. I'm not able to change the past, but I am able to change what I made it mean, and you can too. So I made it mean that I was unlovable, that I wasn't worthy. So therefore, everything that I did moved towards making sure that I stayed under that ceiling of my worth. Every time I went to move forward out of that, I would do something subconsciously and sometimes consciously to sabotage it. And that's what you're doing as well. So as we put together this manuscript, this draft of the next edition of your story, what you need to do is look at every single one of those beliefs and challenge them. And instead of looking for the evidence of why those negative beliefs are true, look for evidence as to why they're not. I have plenty of evidence that people love me, that I do belong, that I am worthy. And by focusing on those, then I'm able to, whilst still being humble and teachable and coachable and, realizing that I'm on a journey of imperfection and I'm continuing to grow and learn and change every single day. But what I'm able to do with that is I'm able to go, yeah, you can do this. You do deserve this. And therefore I go after it. So now that you've got that list of limiting beliefs and you have challenged them and you've flipped them, what you're able to do is then write the story with new dialogue. The great thing about our brain is a thing called neuroplasticity, which means that we're able to change the wiring in our brain. So by recognizing these limiting beliefs, recognizing that they're not serving you, by rejecting them, then replacing them with new, positive, empowering beliefs and behaviors, and then repeating that new behavior over and over again, repeating that new dialogue over and over again, ruminating on something positive, then you will rewire your brain. And then with this new story that you tell yourself, when opportunities come up, you're going to be able to take them. You're going to be able to feel like you're worthy of them. You've shifted the story. You've shifted the dialogue. And then when you sit down and read this new story that you've written, it will encourage you. It will empower you to make the shifts that you need to make, to do what it is that you need to do so that you can have the results that you want this year and beyond. Your identity is what we've been talking about this month. It's who you believe you are and who you believe you're not. And by continuing to work on that identity, building yourself back up, removing and replacing things from the past that have held you back, ruminating on where you can, looking forward rather than back, then you're going to be able to achieve far greater things than you ever thought that you could. This is a journey that will go on for the rest of your life, maintaining a healthy identity. Things will still go wrong. However, you'll have the ability to make them mean different things to what you would have before with that old story. So what's the next chapter of your story going to be about? Is it going to be about how you can't or how you can? And then further chapters, you'll be able to read about how you did. I see this as an absolute privilege to get to do what I do all around the world, to take my own life experience and be able to share that and to use that vulnerability and the lessons that I've learned to help people just like you to break free of that negative self-talk, of that story that's holding you back, and realize that when you draw a line in the sand, you can rewrite where you're going. You're not able to change the past, but you can set up now and the future to be a much more enjoyable journey. Well, that's it from me for another week. Join me again next week when we're going to move into the area of intelligence, and we're going to look at how you are a multiple intelligence being and look at how you can tap in to the most powerful intelligence of them all, and that's your emotional intelligence. I'll see you then.